Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a crazy story. Maybe for some of you, it might even be a little bit unbelievable. I'm just going to turn a light on. I didn't realize it was so dark in here. The sun hasn't come around. It's earlier in the morning here, so I don't know if this is going to help or not. There, I think that makes it a little bit better. So, as a medium, a little bit about my story. I didn't want to talk to dead people. I honestly didn't even believe that psychics or mediums or any of that was even real. I kind of thought of them as like unicorns. They don't exist. Like it's not a thing. And as I've mentioned previously, when my husband said to me, this was when we were very young. He was probably 20. He was probably 21 and I was probably 18, something along there, maybe 19 and 22. But he said to me, "How do you know things?" And I just looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" So I said, "Doesn't everybody know things?" And he was like, "No, not like you do." So, the universe has an amazing, synchronistic, beautiful way of showing you if you're open to it. I have been curious, and here's the thing. So I have been curious probably from the age of 4. I would go to church with. We had a neighbor lady who was kind of like my grandmother. I absolutely adored her. Actually, both her and her husband, super sweet couple. Just the kindest people you could ever have for neighbors. And I did ask to go to church with her, and I remember sitting there in the pew listening, and the pastor who was speaking, I knew the pieces that were truth and I knew the pieces that were lies. Not that he knew that they were lies. It's just it's the control, right? And I think that there are elements in religion that is about, if you put fear in, then you can control the people. And it's not always by design from the pastors, like it's something that was done to them. They just pass it on. But I somehow knew how to filter that. And so I guess I was just born with a deep knowing and very, very inquisitive, maybe would be the words. Question everything, like, is there ghosts? Are ghosts real? What is the purpose of life? Are there aliens? Like all of these questions. And even as, going to church, because I would go to church, it was an Anglican church with my grandmother, um, in a very small town. And it was like I just had this uncanny ability to kind of, I guess, know the difference between what was true and what wasn't true. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. Hopefully it comes back. But um, I was just very discerning. And even with people, when I would meet people, I could read the energy. I didn't realize I was doing that. It's just some ability that I have, maybe because I have this deep longing or a deep knowing of seeking truth within me. And if you are looking for truth, truth is a universal law. If you are looking for it, it will reveal itself. And so I've always been questioning. And so, oh, I know what I was going to say. So it was around like talking about heaven and hell. And I just didn't believe that hell was a real thing. Now, we have free will. So even when we die and we leave the physical body, some people believe that they should be punished for their sins. It's not God. Judgment Day is us judging ourselves, okay? God has no judgment. Like it talks about no judgment in the Bible. And maybe this will be a topic for another day, but there is no right and no wrong. There's only choice. Okay? Evil is just the lack of light, lack of information, and good is light or information. So, if I was wearing a black and white striped shirt, and I've used this analogy like a million times, and you guys will hear me probably say it a million more times because there's so much truth to this. If I was wearing a black and white shirt, would you come up to me and say, "Janine, I don't like those black stripes on your shirt, but the white ones are sure nice"? Well, if we took away the black stripes, I'd have a white shirt, right? Or if we took the white stripes away, I'd have a black shirt. It's just contrast. It's just showing you the difference one against another. And one is not better than another. It's all just a choice. We learn from our choices. I'm here in this lifetime to bring more consciousness to the planet. I'm seeking truth. I want information. I want to know what is real. I want more ease and joy in my life. And I will tell you that when you open up your awareness, which, as a psychic medium, for lack of better words, because I wouldn't say, like, I'm not a medium that like holds hands and holds seances, okay? A medium is just like, that's just a word. I don't even like being put under that lens, because I would say that's not even what I do. Like, the English language is so limiting. I read energy. That's what I do. We are all a frequency. There are radio waves in your house right now. How do you know this? Because when you turn your radio on and you tune to that frequency, you pick up that station. We are all a frequency, just like a radio station. And so, people are like, well, how can you do readings over the phone? I can do readings over the phone because I'm just picking up your frequency. And when I do a reading, I'm looking for truth, but I'm also, I believe, really guided to bring the information through that is what that person needs at that time in the reading, to give them guidance for moving forward. And I'm all about ease and joy. Now, not everybody wants ease and joy. Now, and the other thing that I'm going to say is, like, if we're only seeking ease and joy, like, we grow the most through the struggle, right? Like, so it's almost like I'm trying to avoid all of the struggle, and yet sometimes that's where our greatest growth comes. It is the resistance, though, that creates the most pain. I mean, think of it this way. Imagine being 10 centimeters dilated, and if you're a guy, like, you can only imagine, and saying, oh, today's Wednesday, I don't want to give birth till Friday, so I'm just going to hold back. Or like when you have to go to the bathroom, no, I'm going to hold it, right? Like, no, it's relief to get it over with. That's what we do. Sometimes even in death, people will hold on because they're afraid, they don't know, because we're not taught all of these things. And this is why I keep showing up, and that's why I keep talking about these subjects. So, this has kind of gone off on a tangent. I always trust what I'm guided and what drops into my head. That's why I call my podcast Just Show Up, because I will literally just pick up my phone and just start a podcast. So if you like what I'm saying and I channel this information, this is not me. These are not my beliefs. Sometimes it's tied into my experiences, but I channel the information. It just comes through me. Sometimes I leave my podcast having learned some things. So it's kind of crazy how it works. But today, in today's episode, I really wanted to talk about energy. And so I'm going to share a really crazy story. And this isn't to scare you. This is to show you that it exists, whether you know about it or not, whether you believe in it or not. Okay. Now, one of the things another thought or idea is, sometimes things are coming in so fast I can't speak that fast. I wish I could mind meld with you guys so you could just have that instant knowing. I could just share it with you instantly. But sometimes what happens is, now I've lost that train of thought too. It'll come back to me. So what I wanted to say is, and what this whole episode is about, is just this experience that I had, that I got shown things that I guess I was avoiding. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So opening yourself up. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but opening yourself up to the possibilities. I'm not saying you have to believe everything I say. Run things through your truth filter, because something that may be true for me may not be true for you, but be open to it. And why is she saying this? And why am I hearing this? And does this make sense to me? For me, maybe I can't eat eggs because it bothers my stomach, but for you, you can eat eggs and it's no problem. Those are truths that are for me, and a different truth for you, right? There's those things, but I am also seeking the truth. Like, I want to know how the world works, what the choices that I am making are going to create in my life. Are you willing to know that we are the creators of our lives, and through the choices that we are making, that's how everything comes to be? Every single choice you have made in your life has brought you to this exact moment, sitting here listening to this video. Yes. Take personal responsibility for all of the choices you have made. The thing is, for some people that's scary, but also it can be very freeing, because it's all on you. You get to create your life. You get to design your life. You don't have to live your life based on someone else's ideologies. And the world right now is kind of crazy, and people are living their lives by other people's ideologies. like thinking they have to work 9 to 5 and pay their taxes and pay the bills and like, you know, Groundhog Day, get up every single day and do the same thing over and over again. And if you love that, then there's nothing wrong with that because it's just a choice. You are creating your life. I don't love the same things that you love. So anyway, I digress. So coming back to the story of me doing this class. Okay, so I'm doing this class and it's a really cool modality. I no longer practice it just because again it was owned by a human being that I just feel like kind of fell out of alignment into like what I believe. You know what? You choose something until you don't choose it. It's just like relationships. Like you fall in love with somebody and maybe you get married and you have kids and then all of a sudden you're no longer on the same page. You choose it until you don't choose it. There's no right or no, and there's no wrong and people change and it's the same thing with this modality. I'm so grateful for it. I have learned so many amazing tools. I've met amazing people, people that are still in my life today from doing that. Like, there's no right and no wrong. You choose it until you don't. So anyway, I'm in this class, okay? It's called the bars. And so we're running points on the head. And it's funny because it was a friend of mine who she said, I want to become a facilitator. And so she had applied and done all the things. And she said, would you come help me like do my first class? And I said, absolutely. And I said, so I will help facilitate the morning, but I said in the afternoon, it's you, like it's on you because I was also moving. I was leaving the province. And I said, and then you're going to do this on your own. So anyway, when we arrived, a friend of mine came with me, and I just saw these people stand, three people standing outside, and I thought, that's interesting energy. I knew it was dark energy, for lack of better words. Not right, not wrong. Okay, I just was like, okay, I don't know what they're doing here at this class. I don't know how my friend got connected with these people, but awesome and no point of view, right? It's just like, okay, great, maybe they'll learn something, maybe they'll release something, like maybe they'll go continue living their dark lives, like no judgment here. Everyone has their own journey. So anyway, we get into the class. I run the morning, everything's good. It's now afternoon, my girlfriend's running the class, and I just kind of tuned out for a moment. And it can be exhausting facilitating the energy of these classes, and I was feeling exhausted, probably because of some of the people in attendance. Maybe I was facilitating moving the energy. Again, doesn't really matter, but all of a sudden she's waving me over. She's like, Janine, like you have to come over here. And so this woman's crying. I could hear crying, and that's normal. Like people release emotions and past lives and all kinds of stuff. Um, so I come over and I'm like, what's going on? And then she like starts writhing and hissing at me on the table. I'm the only one that can see her face because she's the one laying on the massage table. So there's the person who's receiving the treatment and then the people who are holding the points on the head who are giving the treatment. I couldn't even tell you who was giving the treatment, but I could see my girlfriend who was sitting at the next spot. She was holding someone's head, right? Running the process. And she just like looked terrified. It's kind of funny but not funny because she was just like, what is happening? And I'm sure many in the class were thinking, what is happening? Like, and probably thought this is so evil. It maybe scared a bunch of people off. It doesn't matter because there's no right or wrong. um so I start communicating because I know that there's an energy attached to this woman. I've never seen this before. I really didn't have a lot of experience in clearing energies at this point in the game. And I'm thinking, okay, like it's me. I'm the facilitator because my girlfriend has no experience. I've been running these classes for some time. And plus, I know what I know through the work that I do, right? So, but I can't say things out loud. So I'm telepathically communicating with this energy that is attached to her. And so I'm telling it like, because we are protected, okay? There are universal laws. Like you can't just do that. However, if you do drugs, if you consume too much alcohol, if you do any substances that kind of like lower your consciousness and your ability to be present in your body, you are susceptible and opening yourself up to energies, okay? End of story. Don't do drugs. Don't do substances. Like we do not need these things. Meditation can give you the same um, but even on a better in a better way, give you the same experiences, honestly. So all of that said, it's all just choice, no judgment, like it's all just choices. And so I'm talking to this being and I'm saying, you have to leave telepathically because there are people in this room that are like, I think, ready to run out. They didn't. And she's still talking to me in this weird demonic voice. And then all of a sudden, her eyes. So, like, in Hollywood, like when you are watching a movie and the eyes are like white and glowing. They weren't really glowing, but it was almost like a cataract like film over her eyes. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was just like, wow, Hollywood actually knows. They're showing us what goes on out there. So we all think it's fiction because they don't want us to know. Why? Because when you know, you are empowered, okay? And that's why I'm showing up at this channel because this is about empowering you. I don't like, as a medium, as a psychic, all of the things, people relying on me to tell them what to do. I will give you the tools and I will remind you that your knowing is inside of you and you have your own connection to God, the creator, source, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I am thinking, oh my goodness, this is insane. I cannot even believe what I am seeing. I'm the only one that can see her because she's laying on the table and everyone else is seated or laying on tables, which is a good thing. And I said, cool party trick, but that isn't going to work on me. And I go into this state of being. And the other thing that I'm going to be doing here with you guys is I'm going to be sharing some tools, energetic tools with you in how you can change your life because they work and are powerful. I'm also working on a book to share those tools and maybe even a card deck where you could say, okay, what's my block today? If you're really struggling with something and you're going to shuffle the deck or you can flip open the book and it's going to give you some energetic tools to shift whatever is blocking you or keeping you stuck because it's so cool and so powerful. So then all of a sudden blood starts trickling out of her nose. And I'm like, yeah, that isn't going to work on me either. So it's like this being is trying to scare me. And I just kept going into, so this is one of my tools. It's a very powerful one. I just kept going into a state of being. So instead of being affected by what was going on in the physical, I just said, what can I be for her right now? And I like, so every time I kind of go, I don't know what to do, like I would go into my being and then I would know what to do. We're called human beings for a reason, not human doings. And so every time I would go into a state of being, what can I be for her? I would know what else to say to this energy. And I got this energy to leave because it was not following the rules. And as much as she let it in by doing substances and stuff, because she opened herself up to that, I'm now facilitating that this being is not welcome here. And I'm advocating for her, but also I'm being affected by this being attached to her. So bye bye. So I get this being to leave. I'm aware there's a few others, but she's not willing to or ready to let them go. So anyway, I facilitate it. She calms down. She comes back. And like I never got to talk to her at the end of the class. There was just so many questions. I had a lineup of people who were like asking me questions about various things that they learned throughout the day. Because yeah, it was a 1 day class. Um, and she ended up leaving because I wanted to say to her, like, were you present through that? Like, what was your experience? Like, do you remember anything that happened? Like, I never did get to talk to her. Um, we were friends on Facebook, and that is actually where I actually learned that entities attached to the body can actually cause cancer as well. And that's what she ended up passing from. She knew that I helped her. She could have reached out. It wasn't for me, again, to judge her journey. Um, I have gifts and abilities, but I never override anything. Like I have to respect people's journeys and that not everybody wants easy, nor should they have easy because growth happens when things are not easy. So I'm going to just go into a quick little story here around the farmer who comes across a cocoon with the caterpillar is now coming out as the butterfly, okay? And it's struggling to get out of the cocoon. So the farmer decides, hey, like I'm just going to put a little cut here in the cocoon so that this butterfly can emerge with ease. And the butterfly just falls out and falls down to the ground and dies. And the farmer's like, I don't get it. Like, what happened? But what the farmer didn't realize was that through the struggle of that caterpillar coming out of the cocoon, the struggle of it forces the fluid out of the wings into the body so that it can fly. And so it died. And so, it is not for us to judge anyone's journey. It's just if you are worried about someone or not sure, just ask what can I be for them and let it go. Just be for them. Be out of judgment, get out of your head, stop thinking about it, and know that they're an infinite being that have had many lifetimes, and this is their journey, and it's for them to figure out, and it's between them and the creator. But sometimes when we say, what can I be for them, it's almost like you can become the lighthouse. You provide energy, a frequency, maybe even light a different path for them that they didn't see before, but it's not coming from thinking. It's through your being. Okay. So, anyway, so at the end of this class, so we leave now, right? And I'm thinking, if I had known what I was going to experience in that class that day, I probably wouldn't have shown up. Let me tell you, doing this work, I've seen some dark things. And again, just labels, not necessarily dark, but many people would say that because it doesn't feel good. And I'll talk about that in a bit too. But I felt so excited. I felt so empowered. And so my girlfriend's the one that drove. And so we get in the car and like seriously, she won't even look at me. Like she's still terrified. Like she was deeply terrified. And I just looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, that was amazing." And she's just like, "What?" And I said, "I learned something today." I said, like, if I had known that that's what I would be facing today, I probably wouldn't have wanted to come and do this class. But I said, I am so empowered. You know why? Because I know that there is nothing more powerful than me. I stood in my power and I demanded from this being what was required. So if you're in allowance of something affecting you, whether it's a spell or an energy or whatever, and spells is just another thing. Like it can't happen unless you're in allowance of it. End of story. And so I just yeah, it changed my life that day. Like so I share this story because I want you to know that there are energies out there that don't have your best interests at heart, but they can't harm you, not unless you allow it. And so I actually had another experience where I had a friend who was now no longer a friend. We kind of had a I don't know if I want to say a falling out. I have very interesting relationships in my life. If something isn't working for me, and I trust if something isn't working for someone else who's in relationship with me, whether it's a friend or a family member or whatever, then we have a discussion. And so something had happened where she had misunderstood something that I had said to her because it was in a text. And she went and did a video actually about it, talking about me. And I saw this video and I was just like, what? It was so unkind. It was so rude. And the people that were seeing it, like, because we used to work together and do classes and stuff together, and it was just like it wasn't the truth because it was just her interpretation. So it may have been her truth, but it wasn't the truth. It is not what happened. And I invited her to have a discussion around. I said, "You totally misinterpreted what I said in my text." And so I invited her to have a conversation. She kept avoiding me. So I'm like, all right, we're done. If she's not even willing to have this uncomfortable conversation around how this went sideways and how she misunderstood something that I said, I mean, we'd been friends for a long time. And it's just like, really? Like you think this is what I would mean by that? Unbelievable, right? So I just ended up leaving it and walking away from the friendship. However, fast forward to another business partner that we had, and I was working with her again, and I had told her, I said, I don't want to be on a Zoom call with this person. Like we're done, like in this lifetime. She's on her path, I'm on mine. It's just we're not meant to work together anymore. I love her dearly, but she has her things to learn and I have my things to learn, and it's not together, obviously, because she wasn't willing to communicate. The definition of relationship is the distance between two objects. And if she's not willing to meet up with me and have a discussion, that puts a wedge in the relationship. So anyway, I maybe she'll even see this, I don't know. But anyway, what ended up happening was she ended up on a Zoom call, and I had said like no Zoom calls like with her or whatever, and she just said no, she doesn't ever attend this one because where she lives, she's 7 hours ahead. And but I hop on this call and there she is, and that's fine. I we're mature, we can handle it, and but there's also an energetics in relationship, and sometimes people because they're hurt, they want to hurt you, and I know that she was hurt by everything that happened. But that's on her because there was an invitation to talk about it and work through it and continue in the relationship, and she chose not to. And that's when I walk away. I mean, you have to be willing to put in the time and the energy and have those difficult conversations sometimes. I'm willing to change, I'm willing to work on me, but if it isn't going to work anymore, and I just felt like the trust was broken there. So anyway, afterwards I felt like I was being psychically attacked. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm like, really? Would she do that to me? I'm like, she's so jealous. She doesn't want me to succeed. Like she's still upset with me. She has not moved on. She hasn't worked through it. She hasn't let it go. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do with this energy? Well, guess what? I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to be? I went into being and I heard the words and it was like, well, don't allow it. You're allowing her to do that to you energetically. And I was like, what? It's that simple? So are you willing to be that aware where the lights are on and you have the information, you get the downloads, and then you know what to do with the energy? So yeah, it's all so very interesting. We just have no idea. It's 11:11 here. I love numbers. Maybe numerology is um another episode that I can do. But yeah, so just don't underestimate the power of your being and what you know. And I'm going to be inviting you on this channel to step into greater awareness because to me, moving through life with the lights on as opposed to the lights out is way more easy. If I took you into a warehouse and the power is out and you have no idea if there's stairs or something low hanging that you're going to hit your head on, or a table you're going to bump into, or trip over something and hurt yourself, or trip over something and fall down the stairs, like that is lack of information. That's being in the dark. And that's a lot of people right now because they've shut down their awareness. They don't trust their gut. They don't trust their intuition. They don't believe that that is even a thing. That's fine. That's their journey. I mean, my father does not believe in any of this stuff. Now, can you imagine having a daughter that you know inside out and backwards, or you should, and then she gets into doing this work, and then like you just question her and you're like, I don't believe in that. Like, it's fine. But really? Like, you know me. Like, what? Do you think I just went crazy all of a sudden one day? I don't know. It's so interesting to me. Again, being willing and able to discern energy. And yes, people can change. Sometimes people don't change. A leopard doesn't change its spots. So if someone's showing you who they are, believe them. There's also that. But I just want you to know that it's like building a muscle. And listening to your intuition, like I said, is like having the lights on through life as opposed to the lights out. And I would just way rather have clarity and guidance and knowing in every single choice that I'm making what that choice might create. You can't know everything, you can't know the future, but would you be willing to be having that kind of awareness that just brings you so much clarity as you move forward through life? So that's what we're here for. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this channel. I'm following the energy. I'm going to invite you to like and subscribe. Those who are here and even those who are coming in the future, this conversation is channeled for you. Like we are all one. We are all one. We are all connected. The divine source, creator, the synchronicities are here for us in our journey. And what are you asking for? Okay, so here's another quick tool, and you'll hear me say this one a lot too as a reminder. Ask and ye shall receive. Don't be afraid to ask for more ease and joy in situations. For me right now, maybe I'm going to ask for more ease and joy in family relationships. Um, I have adult kids that are, younger adults, and why does nobody talk about having adult children? It is, I don't know. I'm not going to speak this into existence because this is another thing, but it's just like, why does nobody talk about these relationships and what is it that we're creating? So that's what I'm working on right now is building those relationships with my kids as adults because when they were young, I was not their friend. I was their mom. I was being what they needed to be to become amazing humans. And I'm going to say my three daughters are amazing humans. And so, but now with them as adults and, different generations, that brings a whole other realm. And so it's kind of interesting where all of that is right now. But What do you want to create in your life? Like, I want to create connection and closeness and healthy relationships, open communication, kindness, um, because the grandbabies are going to be coming, right? That's going to be the next chapter. So I'm trying to enjoy this chapter without all of that chaos, because honestly, I love little ones. I really loved babies and kids when I was a teenager, and that's why I babysat so much. But then I just had enough of it. And raising my kids, I will say, was not the easiest thing. It was a lot of work. I put in the time and the effort for sure. But a lot of the time, like, I was not perfect. A lot of the time, I was overwhelmed. And so now I'm like, oh, I know the grandkids are going to be easier because it's not my responsibility, but I will have a responsibility somewhat as a grandmother and the relationship that I'm going to want to have with those little people. So it's all, life is so interesting. But I want you to know that, I'll talk more about clearing energy and how all of that works maybe in the next episode. But I just wanted to share this story because it's not anything to be afraid of. I learned a lot that day and I was super grateful. Um, and there are, you know what, like, we all have a role in this world. My role is to see those energies and to help them move along, especially if they're attached to somebody that they shouldn't be, if that person's willing to let them go, because there's no judgment there either. If they want to be run by another energy, then that's up to them. Um, some people would prefer that. They just don't want to be present and would rather have that energy running them. I Yeah, it's just very interesting. But I am going to say, don't play with Ouija boards. Don't be opening yourself up to all of these energies. Like, I think for me, I just have a really healthy balance, and I've just always known. Even as a teenager, going to parties, experimenting with alcohol and all those kinds of things, like, I just knew not to go past a certain point. And in my mind, I thought that I had a control issue. I was like, oh, I must have an issue with losing control, that I don't want to do this. Well, yeah, I did have an issue with losing control because I knew it was dangerous. And so I'm so glad that I listened to that awareness. And the other thing is, I don't like throwing up. So I would draw a line on the bottle so that I was not getting sick. And I also didn't like the hangovers the next day. So there are many things maybe keeping me safe and keeping me in line um, with using those things. So, anyway, there's a reason why alcohol is called spirits. Think about that. So I do not consume alcohol. I do not play around with substances or any of those things. I just don't feel like it's necessary. I meditate and I connect with source and I do all of the work through natural means, and it works for me. So I want to thank you for being here today. And as I said, if you like this content, I mean, certainly reach out, comment in the comments below, maybe some subjects that you would like to see. Um, Moving forward, but I am speaking to all of you. And if you subscribe and like, it helps my channel get out there more, because I want to see more light in the world. I want to see more people who are aware, having greater clarity. And when there's more ease and joy in the world, you guys, it's just a way better place to be. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Bye for now.